Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen we're making some easy, soft, and delicious homemade tortillas. So let's get started. First off, in a large bowl, I'm adding 3.5 cups or 420 grams of all-purpose flour. This will make a flour tortilla. If you want to make a whole wheat tortilla, just sub in whole wheat flour, but we might have to use some more water later on in the recipe. My mom's from Mexico and she grew up making tortillas every morning. They are so much better than store-bought. I hope this doesn't seem like a silly recipe to you because you can just buy them at the store. The ones you make at home are gonna be 10 times better, and it's really fast and easy. To give us a tiny puff, I want 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of salt for contrast. And in this step, you could add some flavorings if you wanted to. Add the zest of a lime, dried herbs, whatever you want. But today we're gonna keep it nice and plain. My scale's done. We're gonna give this a good whisk. Mix, 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 get everything nice and distributed. If you want a recipe for corn tortillas, let me know, I can make that happen. But that's a different recipe and not for today. To add some much needed richness, 1/2 cup or 113 grams of melted butter or lard. Pour that in and we're gonna mix with a fork. So because we mixed while we poured, it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna use my hands just to kind of break down any of the bigger pieces into smaller crumbles. And by the way, this recipe comes from my book, Preppy Kitchen Super Easy. It's just easy recipes for everything from breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert. And this is such a good one because it's so versatile and they keep in the fridge so you can have them later. It's one that I really hope you try. I wrote this book because so many people, including myself, love making delicious food, but you just don't have a lot of time. So all of these recipes are fast, easy, and the book is packed with time-saving hacks for things like using air fryers and slow cookers, and every recipe has tons of variations for you to try out too. This is looking great. All the crumbles are broken down into small pieces. So I have 1.25 cups of hot water. Basically, every time you make a recipe with flour and a liquid, it's gonna be different. So like, maybe it's a really humid day, maybe it's a really dry day. If you're not using a scale, maybe you packed a little bit more flour in. So you would always add in some of the liquid and then keep adding until you have the desired consistency. I'm gonna pour this in as I stir it, just like I did with the butter. So hot. Not on your hands. Into the bowl. Okay. I poured in almost all the water, so I'm gonna mix this up, and it should be like a nice shaggy mixture. A fair amount of the recipes in the book were developed when I was in Los Angeles visiting my mom for an extended period, and this was one of them. It was really fun to make it with her and just talk about tortillas and baking and Mexican food. Whenever we have a taco night, like our version of tacos are folded, toothpicked together, and you deep fry them. Then you take toothpicks out, and you open it up, and you cram them with filling. And you always have some like tortillas aren't usable, so you deep fry those for chips. This would make the best chips and tortillas, I just gotta say. So I ended up adding about like 1 cup and change of water. There's a few tablespoons left over, and it looks fine to me. So you can see it's tacky, it's not sticking to my fingers, and it's cohesive. Lightly flour your countertop. All right, and now we're gonna knead our dough. So plop it in, I'm gonna flour my hands a bit too, and just start working it together. This is really fun. I love kneading and I don't get to do it as much as I want because I'm always using my stand mixer, which I love as a time-saving gadget, but you just can't beat like the hands-on tactile nature of kneading dough. A little bit more flour. You can see with just a little bit of work, the dough really becomes smooth and starts coming together nicely. And by the way, if you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you like this recipe, go ahead and buy that book. There's links in the description below. My dough's pretty smooth. It's bouncing back when I press, and it is ready to divide. Grab a bench scraper or a knife, and we're gonna get to work. Divide your dough in half. Divide the halves in half. And now each quarter gets divided in 4 for a total of 16. I love that math lesson. So tortillas are thousands of years old, and the original ones were of course made of corn or maize, and the flour variety became popular later. These are really good because they're just like so soft, and the butter or lard adds a ton of richness. On a section of your countertop that doesn't have flour, you're gonna grab your ball of dough, pinch the tips together so a roll is started, and then on the countertop or your other hand, you're just going to clasp your thumb and middle finger together to make a little circle and make small circles, which will bring it together in a beautiful ball. This works on your countertop too, but sometimes like my countertop just has flour all over it right now, so a little bit more difficult. Pinch and roll. There we go. And this is a really fun thing for kids to help with their clean hands. Lachlan and George love helping me in the kitchen, but I will say that I do have a little miniature fingernail brush for them so they can get like a good surgical scrub in before anything happens. It's a good practice, and it's good for food safety too. If you like lame challenges in the kitchen, you could like really see how fast you could go. Like I can imagine with more practice, you'd have this done in like a couple minutes flat. Because it's like pinch and roll, and pinch and roll. I'm still pretty slow. Anyway, and the last. Once all your balls of dough are nice and rolled up, just kind of space them a little bit closer together, and we're gonna cover them with a damp, clean kitchen towel so they can rest. We worked the gluten up, they're kind of tense, and they need about 20 minutes or so to relax so we can roll them or press them into beautiful thin tortillas. So grab a damp towel, cover them up, and 20 minutes up to 2 hours, just let them rest. I, however, made a batch 40 minutes ago and they've rested. So we're gonna move on with the recipe. Once your dough is rested, grab a big skillet. I'm using a cast iron pan and set it over medium heat to warm up. In the meantime, while it warms up, grab your first ball of dough and flatten it in your palms to get it started. And you can either use a rolling pin or a tortilla press. I happen to have a tortilla press, but I don't think most of you do. So I'm gonna show you the rolling pin first. We want a paper thin roll, and it'll be about 10 inches in diameter. Do not worry about it looking like a perfect circle. Doesn't need to be. So you can roll it and stretch it until you have a nice paper thin tortilla. And the edges are always gonna have a little bit of a thick lip. That's like the most delicious part to me. At this point, you can roll a couple tortillas out and have them ready, or have an assembly line. I would recommend getting a couple set before you start warming them up because it can be a little bit frenetic if it's your first time. We're going to pat it out into a circle and just roll it out. If you want, you can flour the rolling pin. Do not flour the counter though. You don't want to flour the countertop because these tortillas need to stick, otherwise they'll never stretch out. You're using the countertop kind of like as a big sticky paper to hold them out. Okay. Roll. This is like too big actually. This would be a great time for that copper one. There we go. I have a ton of rolling pins in the kitchen, and I switched from this big wooden one to my smaller copper one because this metal is less sticky and it's just the perfect size to make a tortilla. It's not too big. I've got a few tortillas rolled out, so carefully peel one off of the counter, and then we're gonna transfer this right onto our hot pan. As you go on, you'll get better at plopping them in. They cook for 30 seconds to a minute, and you're just getting it to have like little golden bubbles on the bottom. Then we're gonna flip them over. While that one cooks, I'm gonna show you the tortilla press, and a hack is just to have a plastic bag basically that you cut the ends off of. Place that into your tortilla press, Place the ball in the middle and close it and press it. "30 seconds later, flip your tortilla. Ooh, pretty nice. It's actually much easier. So if you want to make tortillas, getting a second-hand tortilla press isn't a bad idea. Then I can just transfer this onto the counter, peel it off, and it's ready to go. As your tortillas cook, pick them up, plop them onto a plate, and make a little assembly line. So let's just keep this pan busy with more tortillas. Place your dough ball in the center, maybe a little bit closer to the hinge. Close, press, and then use the lever. And you end up with a perfect tortilla. To be honest, these tortillas from the tortilla press are really perfect looking, but they're still a bit thick. So feel free to make them bigger and thinner with your rolling pin. Soft, buttery, and delicious. I'll tell you, my childhood snack that's a secret was a tortilla with a log of cream cheese in the middle rolled up. Delicious. More flavor, fresher, and so delicious. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe from my book, Preppy Kitchen Super Easy. Links in the description box below to buy. And if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my book playlist.